Let you know about a couple things before we jump into this episode. One, if you are not subscribing in iTunes, please head on over there. And if you get a chance, leave me a comment, a review. It just helps me climb the charts and get more eyeballs on this. And also, if you dig what's going on with this podcast, you can become a supporter. You can become a patron by heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/KJ52. Depending on what tier you pick up, you get to get exclusive music, merchandise, or even one-on-one talks with me, your boy, KJ52. So this episode, me and my man George Moss, who's my sometimes hype man, dive into the topic of why do Christian rappers or Christian artists hate Christian music. Again, that's a bit of a over-the-top term, but either way, we wanted to dive into this kind of phenomenon that we thought about. Hope you guys dig it. Love y'all. Thank you. God bless. What's up, y'all? KJ here. My good friend George Moss, longtime podcast jumper honor.
Oh, you started the podcast right now?
It started, Youngs. You better start.
Like no preparation.
You better start self-editing right now. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. This is the KJ52 podcast, episode probably 3 or so. But me and George were having one more heated debate.
As always.
And this one was about... Your observation was that... I'll just let you go ahead and say it, and I will chime in.
I will say that in my experience of being in the Christian music world, industry, whatever you want to call it, for the past, 12, 13 plus years, it just is astonishing to me how many Christians don't actually
like... You say Christian
artists. And Christian industry people don't actually consume anything in the industry. It's like, I hate to put it this way, but it's like a drug dealer that doesn't do drugs. Like he's like, hey,
well, isn't that the number one rule? Don't get high on your own supply.
That's what it is. But it's like, this is talking about our faith. Like, this should be the centerpiece of our lives.
Don't smoke drugs and have faith.
I could totally understand it if I was, like a crack dealer. I wouldn't want to actually do that because it's terrible for you. But like, it's kind of like I work at a vegan, health food store, but I'll only eat McDonald's. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yet right now, someone is doing that. Somewhere there is somebody that it is just a job.
Yeah.
And they're faking it. They're faking the bacon.
Faking the bacon.
That should be the title of the podcast. Stop faking the bacon. No, there is. I was sort of disagreeing with him because I think there is a degree of support and appreciation. I think it's more of an individual thing, but I also think there is a degree of, the children of Israel saying, "Give us a king so we can be like every other nation."
Yep.
There is a degree of like, if it's mainstream, it's better.
That's exactly what it is. Like,
mom and pop stores will never be as good as a department retail store. Yeah. Oh, lordy lord.
Oh, my goodness.
The brownie has arrived. As we say in South Florida, Santo Vive. All right, go ahead. You can hold that while I do that. Continue.
I just believe that, like, to have influence on anything, it's kind of like when you're a part of a group, like you consume the group, you support that group, and you want to do that, like, but it's like we're always a fan of somebody else. We're always a fan of the other team instead of like wearing our own jersey. Doing.
You said something about J. Cole. I thought that was an interesting analogy.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know J. Cole. Shout out to J. Cole. He seems to be cool. He's probably not listening
to this. Shouting out to the mainstream.
Because, hey, I don't have any...
You're part of the problem or the solution.
I have no problem...
Stop faking the bacon.
...with him as a person. I don't know him as a person. He seems like a pretty down-to-earth dude, but the point is like when, like, J. Cole's not in the Christian music world. He's not a Christian artist, like, nor does he try to be. And if he's not a Christian, he's not trying to fake it to try to be a Christian. He has no qualms about that, and that's fine. He let J. Cole do J. Cole. But I'm talking about for us as believers, why do we want to, look up to and... I'm thinking if J. Cole is at a barbecue with his family, he's in his backyard hanging out and playing dominoes, barbecue's cooking, and he's got music playing. Like, he's not going to be like, man, he's not playing Chris Tomlin. He's not playing
but
Casting Crowns. He's not playing KJ52. He's not playing any of Christian music. He's playing like what's in the main. He's playing his peers. He's playing Jay-Z. He's playing Kanye.
what? Chance the Rapper redid a Chris Tomlin song.
Okay, that's an individual case. Like individual things and overall ways things work is a totally different. There's always exceptions to the rule, and that's not what I'm saying. There's a lot
majority.
as a majority. Always there's going to be a lot of people that are still playing Kirk Franklin's Stomp because there's a few things that cross over. But as a whole, that's not what happens. But on the other hand, I will look on my Instagram timeline or see all the stories, and I'll see people driving down the street, playing songs on the radio or playing at their musicality app or whatever they're doing. They're not playing other Christian artists. They're playing other secular artists. And I'm like,
You're talking about other Christian artists.
other Christian artists, other Christians, period. It doesn't even have to be a Christian artist. I say that I'm a believer, but I don't listen to music by other believers that talk about the things that they don't talk about the things of God. They talk about, things of, and it doesn't even have to be always the things of God. It's like, you don't have to talk about, the Holy Spirit in every single song. That's not the point. My point is like, you'll fill your mind with everything else other than something coming from the Christian worldview.
Okay. I hear you. And it's funny that you actually say that because I can remember being... no, it's one check, please.
Can you split it 16 different ways just to
I
see?
sure can if you need me to. Please don't make me do it though.
That's
I'm
terrible.
going to finish the rest of this brownie because I want it.
Oh, now you want it.
No, I'll get tables 40 or 20 and they'll split it 20 ways. And
Really?
It's
terrible.
20 minutes. Trying to
It's
split
horrible.
it.
It's funny. I remember being a young, barely saved kid, getting really into Christian rap music, teenage kid. And I remember getting the T-Bone's first album.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like big into liner notes. And I remember opening it up and T-Bone had a Cypress Hill shirt on the inside of his
Wow.
album. And I was just like, what the heck, man? I was like, what? And it's funny you say that because I remember I don't think I stopped listening to his music, but it did bother me. And then meeting some of the Christian rappers, just even as a teenager, and finding that none of them, I shouldn't say none, but they were really into so much mainstream hip hop. I was really bothered by it. And granted, I was kind of legalistic, when I first started. I didn't have a lot of grace, you know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of life experience. Now that I'm on the other side, I can sort of understand it, but I still... It's funny, too, because I remember getting into, my 30s and getting nostalgic for, the music I grew up on and finding, I could go into a local music store and buy a Tribe Called Quest shirt. Or, Stussy put out, this line of Public Enemy shirts, but they were Stussy brand. Mm-hmm. And then, Third Base, I could finally go back and buy the shirt that I wanted as a teenager. And it wasn't even I was bumping these guys on a regular. It was just oh, that's the childhood. It was like a shoe. It was oh, that was the shoe I couldn't afford when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Now I can finally go back and buy it. And I remember either taking a picture of it. Thank you. I remember either taking a picture of it or something. Oh, I just copped this Stussy Public Enemy shirt. And sure enough, somebody on the comments why are you supporting Satan?
Well, the thing
I got offended. What do you mean I'm supporting Satan? Knock it off. Come on. But I can now understand why they would feel that way, because I felt the exact same way.
But if you look at just from I get the human perspective, but our goal as believers should always take things from the biblical perspective. Try to understand what our Creator would want. When you get to know someone, you get to know what they like and what they don't like. And He called us to be holy and set apart, to be different from the rest of the world. It's not about being legalistic. It's just about being legal. Nobody says, oh man, you're driving 45 miles an hour in a 45 zone, you're being legalistic. No, it's being legal. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when Christ calls us to be holy and set apart from the other nations, from the way that the rest of the world lives, we should be doing that.
But I would like to see your statement. It's a very umbrella statement, which a lot of things can fall under there. But I would have to caveat that by saying, if you look at the way Paul quoted many things that are in our scripture, they are lifted from pagan poems of his day.
Okay.
So
that doesn't mean that that's what you can be in this world and not of this world. When he
Right.
says Paul was all things to all people, so he talked to you in your language. Like I don't say be unaware of what's going on in secular music. Don't be so cut off where you don't know what's going on around you. That's not the point.
okay,
But
some people would say that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, as far as what we consume, what lifts us up, what inspires us, what we fill our minds with on a regular basis for entertainment, that should be different. It's not what's like, oh, let me be aware of the latest Marvel movie that's going on. I need to be aware of what's going on in, the news and things like that. It's one thing to quote, a movie line or something like that, or a joke because it's something. Or a song. Like, that's one thing. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have no problem with understanding what's going on in the world, understanding where J. Cole's coming from, understanding where, these artists are coming from. But it's like, when it comes to my dollars and when it comes to what I'm going to fill my mind with on a regular basis, it should be separate. It should be something totally different than what the rest of the world looks like.
But how far can you take that?
As far as you can go.
Okay, do you buy only Christian underwear?
If I have the option to, absolutely. It's not branded that
Does it
way.
have scriptures on the elastic?
You know what I mean?
Well, okay. I have to say that I feel a degree of like, I go the opposite. If something is very, for me, tying economics and faith together, I run from that because I almost look at it like, what's the one thing that made Jesus get more ticked off than anything? Was tying money to the things of God. So I get nervous.
It's not even about that. It's about, like, say Paul, he's a tent maker, and I have a choice to buy a tent from somebody. I'm going to buy the tent from Paul because I know he's a fellow believer, he's a brother. Not that it's like...
But you know what those tents actually were? They were actually prayer shawls. So when he was referring to tents, it was a religious item is what he was selling. It wasn't like he was selling, only Jewish people were buying prayer shawls. His tent was the tent that they would throw over their head. He wasn't like, let's go to giveaway. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, keeping the money in the kingdom, supporting your people. But does that mean I gotta buy an inferior product just because?
No.
I find that sometimes it's an inferior product. I don't want to buy it. I get nervous when people start throwing Jesus slogans all over T-shirts and.
Oh, believe me, I don't wear Jesus shirts either, but because I just personally don't like that style of clothes. And I'm not saying that that's what you have to do, but what I'm saying is like being specifically in the area of music. Okay, if there's an inferior product, you don't have to buy music. It's not a necessity. Like I wouldn't go out and purchase the new Jay-Z record, because okay, well, we don't have anything alternative for that. Like that's a silly logic, the way of thinking. Like just because Jay-Z does something, we have to have a Christian version of it. That's
would you
silly.
buy the latest movie that you like?
I just personally don't buy movies.
Okay, but I'm saying if you had the opportunity.
Okay. I just don't. Like if I don't like the movie, if you come out with the next Left Behind movie,
7, the musical.
Yeah,
Left Behind on Ice.
I'm just not gonna buy it because I don't want it. That's not the point.
Facing the Giants 13, the musical on ice.
Right.
More giants, more facing.
Featuring Joshua and Caleb.
This time featuring an actual giant. You should do a Left Behind version, but it's just really about Kevin and Home Alone. He just keeps getting left at different places. There's a Rapture version. This time, it's for real. Bro, you could do a Left Behind with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, man.
And Kirk Cameron. Yeah, so they have that epic showdown. He's like, I don't believe in what you're talking about, man. And then the rapture happens. Kirk disappears again. Oh, he's never disappeared. He always gets left.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right.
That'd be a short movie.
You know, it's funny. This is kind of a side thing. I had this guy hit me up, and he goes, and he's hit me a couple times about this. And I've never responded, but he goes, I'm trying to get my music off the ground. Can you help? Can you donate to helping me get a studio or build a studio or something like that? And I've definitely had people over the years just constantly hit. I guess they assume I have thousands and billions of dollars at my disposal.
Well, you're KJ5 too. Of course
Right.
you do.
If they're not asking me to get on their multi-level marketing scheme or buy their energy drink, they freaking want me to build a studio. And I thought, it's just such a weird thought process in my head. It's like, you want me to buy your studio for you. You've never made a demo. You've never made any music. I don't know you. You're cold call hitting me on a social media platform. And then I'm looking at your, like, I go on the profile and I'm like, you seem like you dress pretty decently.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like you're just, like, living out of your trunk. It's like, dude, you have it all backwards, man. Like, nobody... you don't even need to build a studio.
Yeah.
You record it to your iPhone. Like, it's so cheap to record music now. I can't even understand how anybody would be like, I need to have XXXX. Just like a gimme. That would bother me. Like a gimme mentality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you should support me because I'm doing this for the Lord. No, I shouldn't.
No.
Why should I? It doesn't automatically mean I gotta support you.
No, and I don't think you should. I don't think that's the case at all. It's just like, it's more so, why are we supporting something else that's not a part of us? Like, why would you fuel something that's anti the message, that's the hope that's within you?
Why would you fuel it?
Yeah. Fuel it with your dollars, fuel it with your ears.
Everything,
your emotions.
reality is anything. There's a million things you could say is anti. If you give money, if you go to Starbucks and buy coffee, most of their values from a corporate level are not biblical values, so you're supporting that.
Yes, true.
So I don't know. I mean, to me, that sounds almost identical to Paul with the meat sacrifice to idols. I don't think you're right, and we do vote with our money.
This isn't a sin issue that I'm talking about. This is not you're a sinner if you don't. I'm just saying your actions reveal where your heart is, especially when it comes to music. Coffee, I mean, that's a whole nother subject. But I'm saying, like, especially when it comes to something like music that's fueling your soul, that really is shaping your mind in a way. It's altering your mood. You know, you think when you're feeling sad, you want to listen to a sad song. When you're feeling happy, you want to listen to a happy song. When you want to get into a mood, when you're driving and you're cruising, there's a certain thing that you want to listen to. Like, music is something that we live to. It's something that, like, it's a theme song for our lives. And should the theme song for our lives be something that is displeasing and dishonoring to the God that we say that gives us hope?
Well, it's funny you would say that about the Jay-Z record. So I saw a ton of people obviously bigging it up. And I would have to say, if in my, Mount Rushmore of MCs, he would definitely be on the wall. But I was in no rush to go listen to it. Mm-hmm. And I certainly, if people are hyping it, that probably makes me want to listen to it less. But I did have to make a drive. I was not going to get Tidal just to freaking listen to it.
Right.
I was like, I'm not listening to it. It comes on a platform I already have. But on that drive, I sat there and went through every song. And from an artistic perspective, I could go, that was a well-executed thing.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've never listened to it since then.
I would agree. I can appreciate the art form of other people, like, because at the end, creativity comes from the creator. Like, Jay-Z doesn't get this from himself. Like, nor does like all these artists that, like, I think Jay-Z is probably one of the best rappers, obviously, ever. So Eminem, one of the best rappers ever. One of these, like, these people that are truly talented artists, no question about it. Whether you are painting a picture or singing a song, I can appreciate the art without supporting it and consuming it and saying like I'm going to co-sign on that. That's just my my perspective.
I think that part of that is just a maturity issue. I mean, one thing Christians are definitely really good at is doing a sanitized version of
It's a copycat
XYZ.
version of that.
Yeah, and that's. I will say though, I'm definitely more conscious of what I listen to now that I have kids.
Yeah.
And just the other day, it's funny. Just the other day, I had a long drive with my kid, my 2 boys, in the car. And I give them some freedom. I give them actually a lot of freedom in what they pick. But they also know there's limits and there's rules and, you know, we have parameters of what they can listen to and stuff like that. So, but I also know, like, if I introduce the music to them, they shut down. They don't want to listen to it. They have to, like, find it on their own. Or I have to play it and not subtly say I'm playing it.
Right.
Because Dad can't introduce it.
Yeah.
They'll automatically not like it. It's like food, too. But somehow I was, like, listening to my son. Played the new Derek Minor single, the Astronaut song.
Okay.
We were playing that. I was playing it, and I could tell, like, both of them were into it. And I said, and Jacob was kind of, like, fooling around, like, rhyming about fidget spinners, which is purely hilarious. I said, well, Jake, he's got an instrumental version. Why don't you try rhyming to it, messing around, because we got a long drive. And all of a sudden, you know, we're playing the instrumental, and his cadence is, like, really good. I'm like, huh. So it turned into, like, this really cool bonding moment, like, with me and him, where I was not forcing him to do what I do, but he genuinely wanted to do it. Anyway, that moment I thought, thank God for guys like Derek Minor that provided that moment. And I said, oh crap, that's exactly what people have been saying to me for 20 years. And I've gotten so numb to hearing it that I go into autopilot on how I respond to it. Which, I mean, I genuinely respond to it, but I'm like I'm now like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. And now I was like, I have a new appreciation. And granted, they don't just like every type of Christian rap.
Yeah.
And we have a very diverse playlist
the thing is,
what we play.
In the secular world, no one likes every type of rap music that there is out there. Everyone's going to always have different tastes. There's a lot of it out there. It's just that there's so much flooded that if we don't take that and, like, have those experiences, and those experiences shouldn't necessarily have to be intentional. They should be a natural byproduct of what we already do.
Yeah, the funny thing is my son was like, Dad, you know, do you talk to Lecrae anymore or something like that? I'm like, it's just funny that he was like looking at me like that was cool. I was like, no, I really haven't talked to him in a while. Oh, okay. Dad, what? And then he got really interested with the whole Eminem thing. Like, he was fascinated.
With you and the Eminem thing?
The whole Eminem stuff. And then he just had all these questions. And he would be like, oh, Dad, you should do another song with Social Club, you know. And he's naming all these groups. I'm like, yeah, I know all these people. Like, and so I was just like, oh, this is a good opportunity to introduce him to Derek.
Yeah.
And then I thought, it only worked with my 10-year-old. And then just like later on, my 6-year-old was like, play the Blasting Off song. And I'm like, and it's not like those songs are like even that theologically deep.
It doesn't need to be.
But I'm like, I just feel good knowing that he likes somebody that I know I can vouch for their character.
Right.
And like, you know, then I was like, I'm the dad now. I'm the dad listening to Christian rap in the car.
But it's like, it just should be, we're not listening to Christian rap in the car. We're listening to music that we like in the car. It should be a natural part of us.
But I like that song. And I don't like a lot. And I'm darn near the worst, most pickiest, hypercritical,
I know.
overly critical person. Anyway, as usual, this episode has led to no real conclusions. But support what you love and, you know, stop bigging up stuff that just think twice about what you're bigging up to. All right, y'all.